about what you need to know when you're designing your kitchen. And I'm standing in a home that's essentially finished. So I'm gonna run through, let's just go through the top 5 things. So first thing, do you want a pot filler? And if you do want a pot filler, you need to know the size of the pot, your spaghetti pot, or whatever you're going to use here, and calculate this distance. And also, where do you want to use this pot? Over at this burner or this burner? So you really want to think about those things. When you look in the backsplash here, we have outlets in the backsplash. We are considering either a plate, an outlet that goes on the surface of the marble, or do we want it flush with the marble? So if you look behind me, we've decided that we want the outlets flush in the backsplash. And this outlet is actually flush with the material here, with the marble material. So that takes quite a bit of coordination with your countertop installers. And it requires some templating, picking out your outlet ahead of time. And then of course, if you look up here, our light actually shines backwards. So you can see the coordination required here where we have an angled light. And then also the stone is angled so that we can spray that light on the backsplash here. If you look behind me also, let's go take a look at something else. So this is another really cool outlet. And it's simple, it's super small. The idea was just really to hide the outlet in the wood here. So those are some fun options. When we look at our range here, you have options. You can pick out red knobs or blue knobs or gold knobs, all that good stuff. When we want to service our range, we make sure the gas on-off valve is located in a drawer space, not behind the range. And the reason for that is we don't want to pull the range out and have to fiddle with the gas or electrical. So we make sure anything that we need to turn on or off is outside of the range space. And then of course, countertops. What kind of edge are we looking at? Square edge, OG edge, and what is the relationship between the cabinet drawer face and the edge? So do we want 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch? What are we looking at here? And then the other final thing is, how much do you want the countertop to stick out past the drawer fronts, or do you want them flush? So those are some really quick tips on when you're thinking through sort of this range area, vent hood area, of what really we find is most helpful. Kitchen sinks, what do we need to think about? Let's run through the top 3 or 4 things. Disposal button. Do you want to press a button when the disposal turns on? This particular sink has a reverse osmosis system. Some people want chillers, some people want hot water dispensers for tea. Of course, we have our main faucet that is centered on the sink. And for those sponges that get really messy and dirty, they actually have a sink that can hold the sponges. So there you go. My top 3 or 4 on sinks. I want to show you something really tricky. So I'm in the primary closet, and for those of you who have passports or valuables that you just want to conceal, but you don't really need it to be placed in a safe, check it out. This is a fake shelf. So the clothing sits on this shelf in this drawer, but when you need to access your passports or whatever it may be, you have an extra 3 inches below. We just kind of made that up on the fly. Where can mirrors go? I'm in a closet. Check this out. Ta-da! Check it out. Not a bad spot. Another tricky one. Testing the mail. Hi, Omar. through what you need to know about countertops, sinks, and plumbing fixtures. Here we go. So countertops. We need to think about the comfort level of when you lean over your countertop while you're brushing your teeth or doing whatever you do. This distance here needs to be about 3 inches. If we're more than 3 inches, we're leaning over and probably bumping our head on this fixture here. So about 3 inches is critical. Now, when you're calculating that measurement, you really also need to remember the edge. How much of an edge do we have here, right? Does the edge stick out another inch, which then pulls the sink back? So we need to really think about these things before we place the sink in our countertop, right? We need to know our edge, we need to know our sink selection, we need to know our faucet selection. All of these things play together. They're all married to each other, right? So this is a straight edge. It sticks out a 1/4 inch past our cabinet face, right? So we know we're a 1/4 inch past our cabinet face. We know our sink selection. We can then determine this distance. Now, the fixture, the plumbing fixture, this spout really the water wants to land on the center of this drain. And that's what we've calculated. So now we know where to place our plumbing fixture in the back space here. So I hope that's helpful. Keep that in mind when you're picking out your plumbing fixture, your sink, and your cabinets. How about some pre-planning that you should be doing and you should know about when you're thinking about your shower? First thing is, where does the shampoo go? We wanna know. We wanna know where the soap goes. Is there a niche? In this case, there is a niche. So we ran a shampoo niche that goes wall to wall. What kind of hardware are we using, right? So our plumbing hardware is this brass color. We're going to match our glass hardware to our plumbing hardware. How does our lighting work? I don't know if you can see it here, but in this opening, we have our light centered. Let me see if I can show you. Centered on the opening here, right? Our drain is directly below that. Tile, let's talk about tile. Our drain, which is down here, has a grout line on the wall that is centered all the way up, right? So, I'll show you. I'm standing on the drain right now, and the grout line is centered all the way up. Shampoo box is nice and wide. All of our plumbing is centered on this wall. We need to know what tile we're using. We need to know how thick our tile is, right? So we can get all of those calculations spot on. Bathtubs, what do you need to know? This is your tub. A couple of things. Go to the showroom, hop in the tub, and make sure that you fit, right? Super comfortable. Am I leaning forward? Am I leaning backward? Am I sitting on a drain? Nope, I'm not sitting on a drain here. Then we need to figure out, where does our fixture go, right? Does it want to go behind the tub? Does it want to go in front of the tub? If I'm leaning back, I want the fixture on the side, right? I don't want it behind me. So this is a great location. I can turn it on, off, do whatever I need to do. The overflow is actually hidden over here, so you don't want to see the overflow. So those are a couple of critical things when you're picking out your tub. You also want to make sure that you pick it out before you start construction. The drain placement is critical. You can see behind me, we actually have some wood paneling. So we had to nail the location for our fixture, right? We had very little room for this to be placed between the tub and the paneling. So we figured that out before we poured our foundation. So I hope that's helpful when you pick up your master tub. Mudrooms, what are the top 3 in mudrooms? First thing, hooks. Make sure you have the sturdiest hook with the most options. Kids have backpacks, they have iPads, they have computers, they have sports, they have umbrellas. Here's a really good example of how strong hooks can be and how they can maneuver. So in this case, the kids are just gonna throw their hooks up here, and then of course, there's storage below, right? So we don't have clunky hardware, right? The kids can go in there, grab the drawer, open it, make it easy. They're tired. They're coming in at 3 o'clock. They've had a full day of school, and we all know, we all know how hard school was, and we are so glad to be done with it, and living, making choices we want to make. So, Mudrooms, respect the kids. Okay, what do you need to know about balconies? First thing, when you set tile on a balcony, there's a mud bed below it. And that mud bed actually leaches. It leaches some gooky looking stuff, and then it goes over the edge of your balcony and it stains. It stains your brick. It stains your painted brick. It stains your slurry. So one way we get around that is we actually built a curb here with brick. And we're using a system called, it's a pedestal system. So it's a floating pedestal, and we actually place the stone on pedestals. So I'll show you. These are actually removable. So you can remove this stone here, and you can see this stone's floating. It is a floating system here. So we don't have any mud bed, and we don't have anything that would leach out onto the face of the brick in front of us. So pretty tricky. You can remember that on your balconies. Also, it helps with your waterproofing. We want to make sure that everything's waterproofed below this, and we are not going to mess with that system. We're not going to penetrate that system with nails or debris, anything, right? So we waterproof, we place our pedestals, we install our stone, and we call it a day. It looks beautiful.